Hello everybody and welcome to part 3.
Facts. Don't present your opinion and try to pass it off as fact, because this is arrogance, and this is what makes people hate the West. And all Westerners don't think like that. Westerners are very intelligent people. That's why you see Islam is the fastest growing religion in America. But if you want to convict this,
No, this is a big fat lie. Muslims all the time they claim that Islam is the fastest growing religion because they sell their religion as if it's a product. And since when did numbers matter in a religion? You're claiming that something is true. It shouldn't matter how many people are part of it. Remember, at one point, there was only a few hundred Muslims fighting in Muhammad's army, and at that time either the pagans or the Christians were the highest number of religious followers in the world. So would that make their religion true because they had higher numbers? No, numbers does not make a religion true, but Islam is all about selling itself like a product. You know, Muhammad offered the stupid Bedouin, if you fight for me, you'll get rivers of wine and virgins and slave boys and silk and raised thrones and couches, and the trees will come to you and walk over to you and give you its fruit. The sun won't burn you. And he just offered these dummy people things to get them to fight in his army. And this is why Christ, he said, in the kingdom of heaven, they will not be married nor given in marriage, but they will be like the angels of the Most High. So they won't be having sex. That when the angels took the daughters of men in the Bible, in case somebody brings this up, the Nephilim, these were the fallen angels. The angels of God didn't do that. They don't do that. They aren't filthy. And so this is just offering them to go and fight in his army. But let us show how stupid the Muslims are when they say this. Because in order to say that Islam is the fastest growing religion, you have to agree that your Quran is a big fat book of lies. Let me show you guys why. Chapter 3 and verse 55. Behold, Allah said, O Isa, which is Jesus, I will take thee and raise thee to myself and clear thee of the falsehood of those who blaspheme. I will make those who follow thee superior to those who reject faith to the day of resurrection. Then shall ye all return unto me, and I will judge between you of the matters wherein ye dispute. So the followers of the Messiah, of Isa, of Jesus, will be superior, will be the superior religion. And so they don't understand their Quran, they don't know it, and they're selling their religion as if it's a product. 10,000 copies sold of this and blah blah blah, it makes it great. No, the numbers does not make something true. This is appealing to people's carnal desires. Oh, there's a lot of people in it. But even still, if we want to go with you, there's more Christians. But I would never be so stupid to say that the number of people in a religion makes it true. All that the Muslims outnumbered was the Catholics, which is one sect of Christianity, one part of Christianity. And then suddenly they start all promoting that everywhere. But they failed to realize in doing so, they made their Quran out to be a big fat book of lies. Moreover, let's see how they convert them. In Sahih Muslim, Book 866, Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reported, the Messenger of Allah, peace be on him, said, do not initiate the salam to the Jews and the Christians before they greet you, and when you meet any of them on the road, force them to go into the narrowest part of it. And the narrowest part of the alley back then was the sewer line. So he converted them by making their life miserable, as by paying the jizya law, by humiliating them, by making them feel subdued in Muslim nations, forcing them to want to be Muslims because it would make their life easier. And this is why Islam grows. Also, Islam grows not by converts because Muslims lay eggs. They don't have families, as Muhammad allowed people to have 4 wives. And so they have many kids, and they outnumber people by laying eggs. But even still, they're losing. I can show you from Al Jazeera TV, 13,000 Muslims a day in the Middle East, leaving Islam and coming to Christianity. 47 verse. And they also have to do it underground, because the punishment in Islam, if you leave Islam, is death. And in Islamic countries, they practice that. And so that's also why they're in Islam. So it's fastest growing, not by quality of believers, but because they lay eggs like cockroaches. 47 verse 35 says, "Be not weary and faint-hearted, crying for peace, when ye should be uppermost, for Allah is with you, and will never put you in loss for your good deeds." Good deeds is not really good deeds as we see them. It means fighting for Islam. So when you can go with peace with your enemy, when you're superior to them, you're not to go for peace. And we see this everywhere in the Middle East. Now let's see how they deal with the infidels, the Christians, Jews, and atheists, and Buddhists, and pagans. First, consider the temporary Saudi Saki Morku Salam al-Gahami, who served years ago, explained in a sermon the terms in which an Islamic society should tolerate the presence of non-believers in its midst. If the infidels live among the Muslims in accordance with the conditions set out by the Prophet, there is nothing wrong with it, provided they pay the jizya to the Islamic treasury. In Islamic states, other conditions are that they do not renovate a church or a monastery, do not rebuild ones that were destroyed, that they rise when a Muslim wishes to sit, and that they do not initiate Muslims in dress and speech, nor ride horses, nor own swords, nor arm themselves with any kind of weapon, they do not sell wine, do not show the cross, do not ring the church bells. How the infidels, Christians, Jews, and non-Muslims are treated in Islamic states. In the third stage, do not raise their voices during prayer. That they shave their hair in front so as to make them easily identifiable. Do not incite anyone against the Muslims. Do not strike a Muslim. If they violate these conditions, they have no protection. And these are mosque sermons. And so, under the Islamic State, it runs in stages. If the Muslims are the minority, they act peaceful. And they're wonderful people to be around, I suppose. And as 3 verse 28 in Tafsir Ibn Kathir of it says, do not take the Jews and Christians as friends or protectors, for they are only friends and protectors of each other, and they are miserable, and surely Allah does not guide those who are unjust. And Tafsir Ibn Kathir says that you can say hello and be their friends, but in your hearts you curse them, and behind your back you curse them, being a hypocrite. And that's either 3:28 or 5 verse 51, but both are saying the same thing. And so in the land of the infidels where they live, they don't have the numbers, and so they have to live peacefully among them. When it's sort of in the middle, like in Europe and in the United Kingdom, when it's now middle grounds, they fight for their rights. And as we see in France, they're rioting in the streets and flipping cars over, and they've turned that country into a wasteland. And so when it's middle, they then fight. Then when it's a primarily Islamic state, like as in the Middle East, they are not to allow the Christians to rebuild their churches, and they must pay the jizya, which is a humiliation tax, to make them feel subdued and humiliated. And they aren't to sit down, to make sure the Muslims sit first. And in fact, there's hadiths that teach about how the Muslims can go in and have sex with the Christian wives even, and act filthy towards them, to force them by converting to Islam, because it will make their life easier. They won't have to pay the jizya tax. And so that's how they get their converts in Islamic countries. And then here in the West, we have these dummy Westerners who don't know anything about Islam, but who are looking for something. And so they talk to a Muslim, and Muslims do what is called taqiyya. So they lie about the faith, and they say, you worship the cross, you guys worship Mary, blah, blah, blah. And all of it is a big fat lie, because we don't worship the cross, nor do we worship Mary or idols. And any Christian who does so is going against the Bible and thus not Christian. And I'm just out of time. And so we all know how they lie. When they themselves bow down to a black stone and kiss it, and they worship idols, and their God is just a leg. 68 verse 42 of the Quran, and the Hadith, Muhammad saying that Allah will uncover his shin. Then you ask a Muslim, does Allah have a butt that his shin is attached to? And they say no. So their God is just a shin. So they reject Jesus they reject God for showing up to us as a man in the form of Jesus, yet their God is a leg. And they want to talk about logic?